College Gym fan, going live on YouTube, streaming live on YouTube. Thank you, StreamYard, for having your website. It's not an app you install. And thank you, Big Ten Network, BTN Plus, for offering your streaming app so I can if you pay for this app, then you can get any sport you want. Ah! Let's go. Highlight the sport. Gymnastics, men's. Now see, it does say that there's none scheduled. That's because it's like in August. See, go back to February and January, you see some. I already have those on YouTube though. Let's see. $2019. Oh, this is a good one. Illinois, Stanford, Canada, Minnesota. Oh, it's denied, so I can't view it. Let's see. Maybe it doesn't go that far back because it keeps on saying no games scheduled. Okay, permission denied for UIC Minnesota. There, full replay.
The top 10 matchup tonight for Brett Nebraska and Penn State. The Navy Lions lead the all-time series 8-5. Their head coach Randy Jefferson, he led the Navy Lions to their third Big Ten title, the 2015 champions. Let's take a look at their floor rotation. Torres was 13th in the NCAA. Touching off their 7th season with Nebraska. It's a cornerstone team that just keeps getting better, John.
Yeah, I talked to the coach about this team. He was excited. He said he's had a fantastic season. Gives himself a B+ so far, which is great. And they're starting to hit. They've worked really hard over the last few years, and got some great young talent. So it's going to be fun to watch them.
Yeah, a month away from the Big Ten championships, the scoring has changed. The most important note is that of the 5 gymnasts that compete in each rotation, all 5 count now.
And that makes it very, very exciting. Just to break this down as simple as we can, the execution portion of the score is worth 10 points. So any deductions, any falls, any form breaks, any steps in the lane to come out of that 10.0, that is whatever's left from that is added to the value of the 10 most difficult skills. So if they do a lot of hard skills, that portion of the score, the difficulty portion, will help raise their total score. So you add those together, the difficulty and the execution, that's how you get that total score. Bernie, you mentioned it, 5 up, 5 count. And in gymnastics, typically during the season and in the past, you've been able to drop that low score. But now it's every score counts, the pressure is amped up. And what makes it great is anybody can win on any given day.
And what do you think as an athlete when it's 5 up, 5 down? How much more do you enjoy that?
Oh, you don't. You want to kind of go vomit in the garbage can over on the side of the floor, Barry. I've got to be honest with you. The thing that's nice about 5 up or 6 up and 5 scores now is you go up there and you go, there's pressure to hit, and you want to hit, obviously, every time. But in the back of your mind, there's this little thing telling me if I fall, we can drop my score. But now, not only if you fall is it going to count to the team score, you got to get back up there, get yourself together, and finish clean. So the pressure is amped up exponentially, and then add on to it in a few weeks when they compete for a Big Ten title. It makes it really, really serious.
Penn State will start out 4. Great Camerongo, the sophomore from Penn Square, Pennsylvania. Just his second career appearance on floor. He scored a 13-7 at Arizona State last week and finished 10th in his course with a 5 up, 5 count. A lot of pressure on Camerongo to start things off.
Absolutely. We always talk about that first guy setting the stage for the rest of the team, and that could not be any more appropriate when it's a 5 up, 5 scores count situation like it is right here. Again, landings are critical, not just on every event, especially the force side. You're going to land 4, 5, maybe 6 times. You're opening yourself up to deductions. Over the course of 5 forward teams, that can make a huge difference. Big fight there. That's going to be deduction.
A month away from the Big Ten championships, how are these athletes feeling? Because obviously they got a bunch of meets in their belt at this point.
It's kind of funny you get to the end of the season and part of you is like, all right, let's just get to championship time. But at the same time, this is what we said, you want to tweak a few things, you want to refine, you want to build confidence. And for Randy Jefferson and a team that's been injured for much of the year, it's really important that some of these young guys, they like Greg here, they hit clean and build confidence, and that was a good start.
It looks like a clean routine that might be a better score than the 13-7 he had last week at Arizona State potentially for Greg Camerongo.
It'll be interesting. He had a lot of small deductions, and even though those might be a 10th or 3/10 at a time, they really add up right there. That hop, that could be, believe it or not, as much as 3/10, depending on how tough the judges are going to be.
Nebraska will get the start on the pommel horse. Ryan Irick, the senior, is the pommel horse and skill ring specialist. Also a Big Ten distinguished scholar as well. His highest performance of the season a week ago.
Very aware, we had the pleasure of being up in Michigan earlier this season to see Ohio State, Michigan. The pommel horse is not friendly between those two teams. Between the two of them, we have double-digit falls. So let's see if we can get some nice pommel horse work here today. And so far, very clean receive from Ryan. That's a great start. That is huge.
These two teams were separated by just a point, and the try needed Iowa 2 weeks ago.
It's a great look at the hand work on pommel horse. That's what makes it so tough, is you can be on. If you just put that hand just in the wrong spot, it's going to cause trouble. But nice start for Ira.
Great start for Nebraska. Second up for Penn State, Joshua Smith, the sophomore from Baton Rouge. A geography major. He finished fifth last week at Arizona State. His teammate, Ray Cameron, is going to get a career best 14, so 0.3 higher than he did a week ago at Arizona State.
That's actually a very good starting score for Tamargo. Just a 15-7 start. So big front double pike. Josh. Nice Arabian pike double front coming back. Josh has been one of those kids that Randy Jepson said he's really stepped up and done a nice job with the injuries. Guys like Trevor Howard. Josh Smith he's not going to put up maybe those big numbers like Trevor Howard, but he's been consistent and he's really been a reliable guy to come in and hit some receivers.
Got a personal best 14.750 at Ohio State a couple of weeks ago. So important for this Nittany Lion team to just get a little confidence headed towards Ohio and the Big Ten championships.
Absolutely, and Randy said exactly that. You know, you want to start hitting routines and get clean. Josh loves the double front. Big hop on that landing at the end. He's supposed to start at about a 15.8, and that means that starting with a 10-0 execution, you add on 5.8 in difficulty. You should start at a 15.8. Deductions come out of that. There's your Arabian pike double front. Really hard forward landing. Anytime you're landing forward in gymnastics, it's hard to see the floor. Much more difficult that way. Handled it well.
I'll bring up Jordan King, the freshman from Houston, Texas. Marty's favorite gymnastics memory, representing Nebraska as a freshman at the P&G championships.
Jordan comes out of an outstanding gymnastic club in Texas, Cypress Gymnastics, coached by Tom Meadows, who coached Olympian Jonathan Horton to Olympic medals as well. So he's got the pedigree, and he is also a guy like Anton Stevenson that we talked about in the open. One of those guys that Chuck Schnupp expects to help carry Nebraska to new heights in the future.
It's a very good event for Nebraska. They're fifth in the country on pommel horse.
You see he's got a nice swing, that long, kind of thin body makes for good pommel horse circles. Good stretch. You want to see some air between his legs and the body of the pommel horse. The more air you see between that, generally the better the pommel horse works. So far, this is a pretty nice set. 2 for 2 for the Cornhuskers.
Wow, what a start for Nebraska.
And that was a bigger start value, too. He should start close to a 16. Ryan Irick started for about a 15.3, so score should build. That's a great look at that one pommel work right up to the handstand. If you're watching at home, keep an eye on the handstands, too. Anytime you see the gymnasts go up and hesitate on their way to that dismount, it is a big deduction. Even though it's on a fall, you'd be surprised the judges really nail for that.
Richard McSwain next. He's up third for Penn State. He finished third on the floor 2 weeks ago, scoring a season-high 15-2 over trying to get against Iowa. It's an event he competed on for the Nittany Lions at the NCAA championships.
Nice combination pass, double twist, frontwards, good punch front full.
14-0, 14-4-5, the first two scores for Penn State on floor. What are we looking for score-wise?
You know, it's not an exact size, but generally what I like to think is if you're getting in the 15s plus, when it comes to Big Ten championship time, that's the score that's going to help your team win. 14s are keeping you in the mix. 13s and anything down there in that range, that's gonna prevent you from winning, for lack of a better way to put it. So 14s keep you in it, 15s, those are the exclamation points. You want as many 15s as you can get. 16s on the other hand, very rare, but those are huge.
Solid routine here for the junior.
Both of these teams look pretty poised at the beginning of this competition. It's got to tough this one. Triple twist, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deduction. That's at least a 3-10 step plus. Touching the white there, that's another 10. So 4 tenths just on that landing, but otherwise a pretty nice routine. This one again. Reach was pretty tough. And again, that's gymnastics for you, man. You got to be right on, and he's really not that far off. Spots the floor, just a little too much rotation. That's going to hurt a little bit.
So miss potentially there for Penn State, and for Nebraska, a perfect start with Brian Irick.
The reason why they say a little too much rotation is because he went out of bounds with the landing on the floor exercise.
You have to get a score officially for Nebraska, but I have to imagine they were in the 14s plus. But
Yeah, their routines.
So I hope I get a lot of views with this college gymnastics video because I want to get to 4K watch hours so I can apply for YouTube monetization. I already have more than 1K subscribers, but I need everybody's help. So please watch
Again, it just looks easy too. He doesn't
this
even
video
stop
as
at the
long
other
as
time.
you
He just
want.
finishes up and walks up
Watch
and
the
drops
whole
the mic.
thing if you want to.
Nice longitudinal travel across the horse. You can use the pommel or just the leather if you want. Handstand goes right up, no problem. There's a smile.
It's also National Son and Daughter Day.
Penn State on
So, like, I am my parents' daughter.
Two-time
And
All-American
for
Penn State
National
on
Son and
steroids.
Daughter Day,
Like
I
18th
called
in the
my
country
mom on the
floor.
phone and talked to her.
He's won this apparatus twice, both at West Point
So,
and Ohio State.
August 11th
This is why
is
Penn State felt
National
like they
Son
were
and
in a
Daughter
great
Day.
position this year. You got Torres, you got Howard, two great seniors that can really do some big things for you.
Yeah, and this guy is battling with his own injuries as well. He's had a shoulder injury much of the season. According to Randy Jetson, a problem with his labor, but he has just worked his way through it and just been a warrior in the words of his coach. And that's what this team needs, is especially with the injuries they have and some of the young guys having to step up. He's been a great example for them. Big break.
So, if
First
you like
major
this
break
video,
for the competition.
give it a like.
One of the more difficult skills is routine.
I like those likes on my videos.
He's going to be kicking himself for that one. Alexis comes out of Puerto Rico, member of the national team down there.
Help me get to 4K watch hours. I have 3,812 last time I
Yeah, we
looked.
talked about it. If you have
I'd
mistakes
like
on
to
this score,
get
can't get dropped. So every little
4K
thing
watch
that goes on
hours
just becomes amplified.
so I can earn some money with my
Good
YouTube
finish, but
channel.
that's going to be a killer. That fall is going to be a killer for him.
Disappointing for the senior at home.
Oh, and it looked like he had it. And it just, I've been in that situation where you kind of relax in the air and you expect the floor to be in a certain spot, and it's not, and it just kind of comes up and bites you, but he had a nice finish.
Another one that we talked about at the outset, Anton Stevenson, the freshman. He's been the Big Ten freshman of the week 3 times. He's already won 5 individual titles, including 2 all-around wins. And last week, he was really on his mark at the Arnold Classic, setting a Nebraska record in the all-around. So far, Brian Irick, 13-7, Jordan King of 14-4-5, and Castro with a 14-6. The number is for Nebraska.
And those are nice scores. Pommel horse generally is going to be a very low scoring. So mid to high 14s, those actually might help you win. on this event, and Anton looking good so far.
Realize that he's so dynamic as a freshman.
If I could quantify that and tell you, Bernie, dude, they pay me for that formula, but it's just something the kid has, I think, from where he comes from. You know, his background, he comes from DeVos Gymnastics, a great club in the Indy area. His head coach, Chad Ford, did a nice job with him preparing him for college, and that's a big factor.
Nebraska 4 for 4 on pommel horse.
And that event in particular, you know, when I was a freshman in the Big Ten, I couldn't stay on that thing until the very end of my freshman year. I finally figured it out. But give the kid a lot of props. It's tough to hit as a freshman, but that event in particular is always a challenge.
And here is Trevor Howard, the senior. He won the all-around in his first meet of the season at West Point, and it's the only appearance he's made in the all-around all season long. And obviously, we talked about at the outset, if Penn State is going to have a chance to make a run at Ohio State, Illinois, Minnesota, that are the top of the Big Ten right now, they have got to have a very healthy Trevor Howard at the Big Ten championships in about a month.
Yeah, you think they really need him to push those top teams. You know, Ohio State in particular, they're stacked top to bottom, and they're going to be tough to beat if you don't have all your tools in your toolbox, so to speak. So Trevor Howard getting healthy is a big factor for them. And Ray Gibson had to kind of take a different tack into this season. You know, he instead of having some big guns and big start values, he's had to try to get his guys to hit clean, lower start values, but hit clean and try to get as close to that start value as you possibly can. And it's a little bit different tactic that he hasn't had to do in the past. And that was a nice start, laid out Arabian double front, tough skill.
It looks like his toes got over the line.
Yeah, that is going to cost him a 10, but huge difficulty nonetheless.
It was on this floor a year ago that Trevor Howard secured the Big Ten
So
title.
first
for
event,
Penn State.
Penn State is on the floor exercise, and Nebraska is on the pommel horse.
You can see that elbow is wrapped. That's the injury that he's been dealing with for much of the season.
And that's got to be the disappointment for Howard is obviously the injuries. Not only does it affect him in the all-around and the meets, but it also affects the training.
Oh, absolutely. When you know you can't even get up on that equipment on the parallel bars and the high bar and the rings in particular to get ready, it's very frustrating. Easy clean dismount here. Nebraska really setting the bar high on pommel horse. There we go. That's the senior.
Great fit for Howard.
Loves it. Here's his mount. Look at this. Laid out position, Arabian double front. Bernie's got his judging hat on. He did see the step out of bounds. That is a 10. And look at that. There is no better feeling in gymnastics than when you nail that dismount. Nicely done.
All right. Nicolai Velasquez is third in the country on pommel horse. Anton Stevenson, another career best performance. He gets a 14.5, and Nebraska has a chance to go 5 for 5 on pommel horse, one of their best events.
Not only that, they have a chance to put up a huge number right here. I think Trevor Howard will score well on his floor routine. So what you want to do as a floor hustler, if you want to get up, take. And this guy can do it. Put up a school record 15.55 in this event. That is a humongous number. And you can see why right away. Look at this swing. We talked about the space between his body and the horse. Huge circle, little break there. Not bad. This could still be a big number. Not sure if it'll be a 15 with those form breaks, but gotta get up to the handstand. Oh, and we talked about it. And that is a killer. Now you see the coach. There's another look at the handwork. Very nice. Had a little leg break on one of those skills. And they decided that he did not get credit for his dismount. So he's going to get up and do it again. And we talked about how important those handstands are. And it came to bite Ethan Lockman right there because they decided that if you didn't make the handstand, and if you don't have a handstand, that is a huge deduction. You don't technically have a dismount. So he's going to have a 1 point deduction on that routine, unfortunately.
But a great start for Nebraska on pommel horse. Trevor Howard, a season best for Penn State on 4. We'll have rotation number 2 from Rec Hall. We'll be comparing on the Big Ten Network.
So Rec Hall, that's Penn State is the home team. Nebraska's the road team.
Coming next month, teams from around the Big Ten compete for conference titles at the Big Ten Men's Gymnastics Championship. Coverage begins Friday, April 1st from Ohio State on BTN and BTN to go. We'll have individual and team titles. Check out the results for rotation number 1. For Penn State on the floor exercise, Trevor Howard.
Penn State only had 115
despite
and
the
the
fact
rest
that he went out of bounds twice.
Yeah, no, that's a big number. And, Nebraska, conversely, when we see their results, you're gonna wish you had that if you're a Cornhusker from Ethan Lockman, but that's a great start for Penn State.
And Ethan Lockman having to do the dismount twice, it certainly did deduct from his score. He's third in the country on pommel horse, and he finishes with a 14.350. Castro had the highest score of a 14.6, but overall still
Nebraska did
very
pretty
consistent
good.
on pommel horse.
Yeah, but you can see that
most
even Lockman routine, how devastating that was. He lost a point on that handstand. So if you just
No
add a point
11s
to his
or
score,
12s.
3.35 is
They
going to
didn't
match
do so bad on
what Trevor
pommel
Howard got on
horse.
floor, and they're going to
Pommel
be
horse is like the balance
But again, it's
beam
really
for
now Penn State
women.
has to go to horse. They got to
Like
step up.
pommel
And they got
horse
to try to
gives
stay on that thing.
men
That's not so easy to stay on.
gymnasts
Yeah,
trouble,
here early on, the
and
Nebraska
women's
was
gymnasts
more
have trouble with
consistent
the balance
in rotation
beam.
number 1.
And a lot
As
of
you take a look at
falls in
the
pommel
standings,
horse.
it is Penn State that has almost a full point lead over Nebraska, 72.550 Penn State's.
Yeah, but
score
Penn
on
State's
floor.
got to go on
Nebraska
the
just
pommel.
goes 71.650 on pommel horse.
Yeah, again, that's a point deficit, but that thing can get erased so quick, especially now that Penn State has to go over there. And floor exercise for Nebraska is a very good event for them. They have 4 gymnasts ranked in the top 25 in the country at that event, so they want to erase that lead and get back in front in this competition. This is the place to do it.
Yeah, Nebraska, they're 4th in the country on floor exercise. Connor Adamsick, the sophomore from Illinois, who scored a career best 15 the last 2 weeks out, will start things off for the Cornhuskers.
Very tough. Front 2.5 twist. Struggle with the landing there. A little low on that granny. You can see his head was very close to the floor, but did not put his hands down.
Scholar athlete for Nebraska, civil engineering major, minoring in business. That plus gymnastics, he's got a full plate.
Yeah, absolutely. All these guys, they really do. And this is a gymnast that Coach Chuck Schmalka said he's really stepped up, in particular on this event. As you mentioned, put up some big numbers, put up some 15 pluses. There's a low 14 guy last year, and here he is. Put up some big scores for the Cornhuskers, and they need them. They had some injuries on this event, so they don't have their optimal lineup in. There you go.
What a start.
That was phenomenal. Triple twist dismount. Nails it. Collegiate gymnastics, they get a bonus 10 when you do that. Feet do not move. That definitely calls for the double fist bump, Bernie.
5 up, 5 count. He knows every point is critical, and for Adamsick, back-to-back career best performances, scoring a 15, might be even higher here.
So the nice thing about 5 up, 5 count is, okay, so we just had a Cornhusker go. They compare that routine directly to the next guy. Remember, Penn State has a 0.9 lead, so about a 1-point lead. So you can kind of gauge as each gymnast goes, the team's jockeying for that top spot.
And Cooperman, the sophomore, is first up for Penn State on pommel horse. State champion back in Massachusetts, where we grew up.
Big fight right there. You hate to see the ball break, but you love the fight. Cooperman has a 15.3 start value, so if you compare that to Adam's Explorer team, and there's another big break, but he fights 139 start value. So he's already given up 6/10 just in start value with those breaks. After one routine in this rotation, I bet you Nebraska's going to have that lead back. Look at the handwork, and right there's the fight. And it's so critical that his feet do not touch that horse because that could eliminate the entire value of that dismount. Great effort.
Adamson is going to be just shy of the 15 he had last week at 14.950. This is Andrew Zumball, the freshman. He redshirted last year. He's made an appearance on floor in every meet but one for Nebraska. Interesting note for him, he's majoring in nutrition. He's never drank soda in his entire life. Can you imagine go through?
Good for him, man. I need to go to his nutrition class or something. I need to cut down on the soda. That Arabian Pike double front looks like he doesn't drink soda too. That was nice.
Saves the fizz for the floor.
Absolutely. This is very nicely done so far. Andrew's a Nebraska kid, comes out of Mahoy's gymnastics. His coach, Bill Mahoy Sr., in my opinion, a legend in boys gymnastics. Been around since I was competing as a young kid. Created a lot of great gymnasts in his time. And I tell you what, this Nebraska team, they already, I know it's early, but they just have a different feel about them. It's not a big deal to go out there and hit your teams. It just seems like it's automatic for them. Here they are, 2 for 2. I know they had a Mr. 2 on horse, but this is a very composed squad.
I remember a year ago at Brett Hall, they were 7th in the Big Ten of the championships.
This absolutely does not look like a 7th place Big Ten team. As we look at the mount again, Arabian Pike double front. A little easier dismount, just a C dismount, which will lower his start value a little bit, but nailed the landing. 2 for 2, and they look good.
West Hayden is up for Penn State second. But a race for 13.250, is that surprising to you?
No, not really. He had a couple big breaks at dismount. Was a big error, even though it wasn't a fall, and then he had a big break earlier in the routine, and not a huge start value. So that's probably right about where it should be.
West Hayden won the Polo horse at Arizona State last week. Scored a 14.450.
And this is a great gymnast here, and unfortunately, he's one of the injury stories for Penn State. He's had some shoulder injuries this year, only performing pommel horse, and that's probably, unfortunately, all he's going to do for the rest of the season, nursing that shoulder. But he is capable of a big number here. They need it. Oh, there's a big fight. He absolutely should have been off the horse right there. Oh, and he can't recover. And you see that. You see that far too often on this event. You get off a little bit, and yeah, you might get it back on again, but the horse comes and bites it. Just takes a little too much out of you. That's unfortunate. Now it's really important. See what happens. Watch his leg. I think this is his first fight. He steps back to the leather, but as he steps back across right there, you can see his legs hit the pommel, slow him down. Once your circle slows down, you're in a world of hurt on pommel horse.
So right now, this is going to take his time.
And it's important that he gets things together because we talked about 5-5-10. This score is going to help. So we've got to finish playing. Cross comes out of Hayden's International Gymnastics. He's a son of Everson, who was an outstanding gymnast in his own right. Ultimate to the 1988 Olympic team. So quite a legacy in the sport. And hopefully he can get that shoulder better and be ready for the Big Ten championships.
Here is Kyle King, a sophomore. He's 6th in the country. That's what he's done in his encore. As a freshman, he won this event twice. He's won it twice now as a sophomore. Came in as a freshman and broke the program record on floor. So far for Nebraska, great start. 14.950 for Adamson. Zumball a 14.550, and we'll see if Kyle King can continue. But he is really electric on this apparatus.
He is, and Chuck smiles when he talks about this kid. He's having a great season, and they are in a good spot right here. Nebraska, with Penn State struggling on horse, they can put some distance between themselves and the Navy lines if they can just hit these last couple of teams. Oh my goodness, that is huge. We saw it earlier, the Pike Arabian double front, but he adds a half twist to it.
Scored 15.85 at home against Air Force, resetting the Nebraska record that he set last year as a freshman on floor.
And this is our first start value, at least it's supposed to be, over a 16. A 16-2, big mistake right there on that handstand. You don't want to make mistakes on those easy skills, not when you do that big tumbling. Tough dismount. Good effort. That's going to be a nice score. Had a couple errors here and there, but overall, with a 16.2 start value, that should be a big number. Take a look at this. Here's your rating. High double front half out right at the end. A little low on the landing. Shoulders were a little too close to the ground. I might be nitpicking a little bit. Here's the dismount. It's a blind landing. Those feet hit the floor right about the time it comes into your sight, which makes it a lot more difficult. A little step back, but that kid can fly.
Well, the Nittany Lions wish that it was 6-up and they could drop the score this close to 9-5. Very low scores the first few for Penn State as Colin Coates gets ready to take the horse. Won this event at Ohio State with a 15.
And I understand there's 4 events left to go after this rotation. But if Penn State cannot put together a couple routines here, this meet is going to get out of hand really quick. Colin is capable of big things here. He starts from a 15.9. So far looks fantastic. A little football in there. Like, man, he was at the tape. I mean, literally at the tape. He is so close. It's a Russian walker on the end. He's just got to go around one more top. And that actually wasn't the dismount, but that's very similar to the dismount where he had the mistake. That part was clean. Goes around once, goes around twice. He's got to get over the body of the horse one more time. And that was that's a bitter pill, especially on this event where you make it to the end.
And for the Nittany Lions, they're now 0 for 3 on pommel horse. Still looking for a hit routine.
And he did not get back up to finish that routine, so apparently he felt like he did enough of a dismount and it was worth more for him just to finish than to get back up.
It is the fantastic freshman, Anton Stevenson. Last week, his all-around score was 88.90, and during that, he had a huge score on floor, 15.7. Got a 10th off the Nebraska school record on floor exercise.
And he comes out that first pass, a double twisting, double back. A lot going on in that, very tough. Wire press the handstand. Those need to be held for 2 seconds, and it's funny because you see gymnasts a lot of times shave a half second or so off of that. Careful, Jeff. I hit that.
Oh.
And that is a big deduction. Both feet landing on the white is a bigger deduction than just 1 foot stepping out of bounds. So that should be a good tough deduction just on that landing, even though he pretty much stuck it. And that was a great routine. Other than landing out of bounds, my gosh, there wasn't a whole lot he could take. Nailed the dismount. He'll get that bonus 10 for sticking the D dismount. There's the double twisting, double back, just a small hop. It's a big skill. Just over-rotated that first skill, which launched him out of bounds just a little bit too much. But right here, this is tough, man. I can't tell you how hard it is to just land a triple twist on your feet. But now I've seen 2 stuck triple twists at the end of floor routines. Freshman loves it. He should.
Should be another solid score, though, for Nebraska. For Penn State, Coach score came in at 13.850. That's the highest score so far on Power Horse. This is McSwain. Electric 2, who won this event. This will be finished third last week, I should say, at Arizona State.
And his teammates are right in front of us, and they know how critical this routine is. They are willing him on to hit this one. Keep them in the fight.
The bucket plus speed scored added a 10th. He's now at 12.850.
The pressure was on, but he got the job done.
Explain to the first hit routine for Penn State, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Traveling backwards across the body of the horse there. A little slow getting up to the handstand, but at this point, you just want to get it done and get a hit.
Last to go for Nebraska, Austin Everson, the junior, 16th of the country on floor exercise. Qualified for the NCAA's in 2 events last year. The rings of the high bar, but he's certainly improved his floor exercise this year. So waiting the score for Anton Stevenson. And Stevenson still a big score, 15-3.
Nice start. Austin's another guy that Chuck said has really kind of come into his own. Been somewhat of a role player in the last few years, but really has started to come on and be one of those guys that can count on for big scores when they need him. He's a legacy at Nebraska. Both his father Mike and mother Lisa were Nebraska Cornhuskers. Dad also coached them at elite champion gymnastics. He was growing up. You know how it is to be coached by your dad. That can always be fun and challenging at the same time.
Challenges, but I would assume a lot of positives at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Being out there on the floor with your dad, doing the sport you love, is pretty cool.
Just for you and your father both to be Olympians, that had to be extremely special.
It was a good time. We enjoyed it, especially now looking back. It's some fond memories. And that was a great routine.
Nebraska was 5 for 5 on the floor.
And they are going to have a nice, tidy little lead here after the second rotation. And Austin Everson, the upperclassman, showing some leadership.
The only question is, how big will Nebraska's lead be after the second rotation? McSwain, the first 14 for the Navy Lions, he scores a 14-3. And the last to make a dent into it is Leroy Clark, who won this event at Army West Point 2 weeks ago. He finished second at the tri-meet.
Leroy is the captain of this Penn State team. And what you want from your captain in situations like this, when things aren't going perfectly, when the pressure is on, you want your captain to get up there and steady the ship. Good. Very nice. Oh, it's slow. The circle's slowing down. Gotta keep it moving. What a fight! And they needed that. Penn State was on life support after 2, but that might just keep them in this. Traveled the length of the horse there. Let's see how close his hands get to the pommels. Good fight right at the end, right into the dismount. You can see how he was slowing down. I realize we're in slow-mo now, but even in real time, when that circle gets slow, it gets so much tougher, but man, he put those big arms to use right there.
2 rotations in. It's Nebraska in the lead. Behind two big performances by Stevenson and Everson, they'll travel to the rings and Paul when we come back on BTN. To BTN Plus and gain access to hundreds of non-televised events, then enjoy them on more platforms wherever you are. Get BTN Plus now, available on BTN to go. It is senior day here at Rec Hall, and man, the time does fly fast for these seniors.
That's funny. I was obviously a gymnast looking back at my young pictures as you see Trevor Howard. You always laugh. You're like, is that really me? These guys are studs, so that's just, I love it.
And it was disappointing for the seniors on pommel horse. Clark, 14-8, the highest total in that second rotation. A bunch of low scores for the Penn State Nittany Lions, and man, did Nebraska take advantage of it.
And that 14-8 was huge for Penn State. They needed that, and it wasn't enough to overcome some of those mistakes, but it kind of saved them in some respects.
And 2:15 scored by Nebraska. Austin Everson, a career best, 15-4. And Stevenson, despite going out of bounds, still scores 15-3.
Yeah, 15s, they help you win. And right now, that's exactly what Nebraska's doing.
And the Cornhuskers with almost a 5-point advantage. They have 146.3 points. 2 rotations in, but as you know, in gymnastics, a lot can happen. We've got plenty of rotations remaining.
Absolutely, and I will tell you one thing that will not happen is Penn State will not go away. They are in their own house, and they're going to fight to the very last routine.
And it's Anton Stevenson leading the all-around after 2 rotations. Alexis Torres really struggled on pommel horse, falling off the horse twice.
Young kid, showing the senior a little bit here how to do it early. So still have to adjust on that. 4 more events to go.
Greg Tamargo, the sophomore, for a 14-on-4, will lead things on for Penn State on rings. It's got to get better for the Nittany Lions.
And this is generally an event, when you think Penn State gymnastics, you think strong rings. And MLT is a demonstration of that right there. They need to put up some big numbers. I guess they start with 9.
Close to the highest score of the season at Arizona State, where he finished 3rd last week.
A sequence there with Milwaukee. There we go. That's a hit. That's going to be a decent score. Not sure it'll break that 15 barrier, but it should be a nice, comfortable 14. These are the double fronts. They're called Yamawakis. Does one pike, one tucked. And he swings to a back uprise planche. That's what makes rings so tough, is you got the big swing and all of a sudden you stop in a really difficult strike position.
So a good start for Penn State on rings. For Nebraska, they're on vault, and this is Antonio Castro, the sophomore, who scored a 14-6 on horse. He got vaulted 2 times this entire season, so this is his 3rd appearance for the Cornhuskers. As Nebraska tries to continue the momentum.
That's a good start. Not the most difficult ball we're going to see. That was super hard with the double twist. Antonio must have had a good warm-up, because generally with him and Connor Adamson, they jockey for that vault lineup spot depending on how warm-ups go. Look at another. Pretty clean in the air. Nice pop off the tater. That white line, outside white line, you have to stay inside those white lines. Actually, on the white line is considered in. If you're over that line, it's a 10. I give him inbounds on that one. Vault really is all about the stick contest. You want to get on your feet, you want to stick those in.
This is Christopher Sands, one of 4 freshmen on Brady Jepson's squad. And how about the start for Greg Tamargo, a career best 14-6.
And needed that. They need all three of your eyes here the rest of the way. Beautiful back Maltese. Strike. Strike parts in 2 seconds.
Sansy's going to get rings and fall. Tied for second on rings in Minnesota. Looking 7 is his career best performance.
He does have a 16-0 start value, so a big start value. Tell you what, Penn State needs to start putting up 15s. They want to start chipping away on that huge Nebraska lead. Nicely done. Same discount we saw from Tamargo moments ago. The 1.5 twist and double back. Small hop, but that was a clean routine. The scores definitely should build from Tamargo's routine. 1.5 twist. A little bit of a hop. A little short of the twist, actually. You can see his right foot didn't quite get squared up with his shoulders. The judges get that slow-mo view, Bernie. They're going to hit him.
We're watching it with the extreme. Probably gets about as good as it gets. This is Alex Maxson, the sophomore from Scottsdale, Arizona.
He's going to do the same vault we saw from Antonio Castro. Just the Sukahara with a double twist. You guys judge the landings. How much is he going to lose, or is he going to nail it? How about the stick? Not bad. Big step. That's a 3-10 step. Did look a little bit against some form breaks on the vault table. When his hands were on the vault table coming over the top, looks like he might have had a little bit of a knee bend. Let's see if we can see it right here. Right there, right off the vault table. And it happens fast, but the judges should see that. They're looking for it. There's another look at it right there. I mean, it's a nice vault. Almost looks like he doesn't need to have that knee bend. Antonio Castro's vault, I remember watching it off the table. It was very clean, so I don't think that should score quite as high as Castro, especially with that step.
Dominic DeFalvio, the junior, one of the best all-arounders so far this year for Penn State. Not going in the all-around tonight, but he's coming off a career best 15.050 2 weeks ago at the tri-meet at Iowa, where he finished 3rd on rings.
There's a nice look at that back upright Maltese. A little short of those holds. Dominic's been an important player for Randy Jepson with his team with these injuries. And he's had some of his own injuries as well. Had a foot injury that's keeping a lot of floor involved. But that's that they really do need him. And on the other ones, they're coming through.
Penn State with consistent scores, 14-6 and a 14-3-5-0.
No struggle on that handstand. Double twisted, double back. A little sloppier though on the rings than we saw from his teammates. The strength holds weren't quite as solid, didn't hold him quite as long. Back upright Maltese. Shoulders were pretty good in between those rings. So we saw the 1.5 twist. This is the double twist. A lot more difficult. Just pulls those feet under him a little bit too much, takes that big step back. Bottom line though for Penn State, 3 for 3, especially after that rough go on the Commodores.
Nebraska team captain Simeon Chamberlain from Franklin, Ohio. Well, parallel bars, those are his 2 best events.
And that was another double twist. That might have been the cleanest of the 3 that we've seen so far from Nebraska. It does take that big hop to the side, but very clean over the top on the ball table. Carefully right here. Boom, feet together. That is pretty much textbook off the vault table. The only thing he missed was the stuck landing. That is really hard to keep form that well on that vault. Also often you see the gymnasts have some form breaks. Nicely done.
Now they were trying to add the Penn State's total after Cavalvio scored the Nittany Lions' first 15. Clark has won this event 4 times this year, including a career at 15-3 in Minneapolis. He's 9th in the country on skill rings.
And they need a top 10 light performance right here. Shoulders just a tad high in that Maltese. Pretty good. See quite the tape job he's got on one of his shoulders. Nice sequence right there. The other walking right to the witness cross. Haven't seen a stuck landing yet on the ring. That would put up a big number if you can do it right here. Almost, just a little shy of that 1.5 twist. But man, I love seeing this from Penn State. They are fighting, they are squeezing every possible tenth out of each routine. There's the kick to Maltese. They want to defend this home court, and they know it's in jeopardy. There's the swing sequence right to the iron cross, and the 1.5 twisting double back. Just a little too far back on his heels. Just needs to hold that tuck a hair longer. Get the stick. Probably just a 1/10 step, though. Nicely done.
Back to ball. What can Anton Stevenson do? 55 on horse, 15-3 on 4 exercise. And last week he won vault. They scored a career high 15-2-5. Can he do it again?
And he does a big vault. It's your Chenko style vault, so he'll round off onto the board. He's going to do a 2.5 twist. A lot going on. Easy money. The kid is just, he's cool. He's a cool customer, just not a problem.
So much young talent for Nebraska.
It's round off onto the board, back handspring onto the vault table. Doesn't get a huge pop off the vault table, but a lot of rotation, and did that foot stay inside the line? Little knee bend there. Again, super slow-mo. It's easy to see. It goes to the side. We're not going to be able to tell right there. I think he stayed in. You can see the judges on the opposite side as well, so probably did not take that deduction.
Last to go, Alexis Torres. He's an All-American on still rings. He finished 3rd last year at the National Championships. Scored a 16 last year. You talk about a big score. It's a huge score.
And the thing that's hard for Brady Jepson in this event in particular is they have Trevor Howard on the bench. And he's one of the best gymnasts in the country on rings, and he is capable of a 16. And Randy said, look, I'm replacing a 16 with a 14.
Yep.
That's 2 points in one routine. And it's very rare that any one gymnast can add 2 points to your team score with one routine. And Trevor does that for them on this event. So if there's a way, somehow, some way, they can get him back for the postseason, that could be big for them. But nonetheless, they're still pretty stacked. As you can see, Alexis with the back roll to Maltese. Very tough skill. Beautiful Maltese position there. Nice player. Started a little bit to find the home spot. That's how that's supposed to be done. And he has got a ton of strength cards. That sequence there, plans to ouch cross late in the routine is so hard. Struggled a little bit on the handstand. He's done a lot. He's got enough left. Oh. He did not know how he found his feet, but he pulled him under and he saved that landing, and that's going to be a nice score. Here's his wicket. Actually, it's Yamawaki's, and then he goes right to the cross. You can see his shoulders don't even get above the rings. So hard to do that into the cross position. Here's a double twist and double back. He's going to just suck those knees under at the last second. He's still going to have a pretty significant deduction on that landing, but not nearly what he would have had if he put his hands down.
Last to go for Nebraska, the sophomore foul king. He's an NCAA semifinalist on vault. Currently, he's ranked 31st in the nation, but he's coming off a career best performance last week at the Arnold Classic. And he'd love to get the second 15 for Nebraska on vault.
Anton did a 2.5 twist, Yurchenko style. Kyle was a 2.5 twist, but he doesn't have it super hard. Not too bad. UT coach Jim Arnott, Olympic gold medalist in the background, clapping his hands. Again, just very methodical. Nebraska just keeps hitting routine. Great look at this down the vault table. And almost just that small hop, he darn near stuck that.
We are halfway home at Happy Valley. It's Nebraska leading Penn State as we head to rotation number 4. It'll be Nebraska on rings and Penn State on ball when we come back. Things here in Happy Valley, and John is down on the floor with Nebraska head coach Chuck Schmalka.
Thanks, Bernie. In your 7th year, Chuck, this looks like a new Nebraska team.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so far so good. We got 3 more big events left. We have great senior leadership. The guys are working hard all summer. They're doing everything they're supposed to be doing now. Our freshmen are doing a great job for us, so we're having a lot of fun. It's really nice.
It looks like it. A lot of meat left to go. Good luck.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bernie.
And it's been a great start for Nebraska as you check out the results from rotation number 3 on vault. With Anton Stevenson and Kyle King scoring 15s. And once again, Nebraska, they've been very consistent with hit routines. And for Penn State, they put together a huge total on still rings. They're 73-7. That's a season best so far for Randy Jepson and company. And it's great, obviously, for Randy to know that he still has Howard and company in the back to really build on the ring scores. As you see the Fulvio in the lead, and as I mentioned, Nebraska with 219.9 points. They still have used that advantage. The struggles for Penn State on pommel horse, they've carried it on now as we begin rotation number 4.
Yeah, they got a nice cushion there. I thought Penn State might chip away at that lead a little bit more.
Anton Stevenson now with almost 45 points. He leads Torres by 4 points in the all-around standings.
Yeah, unless Anton starts to fall down multiple times, it looks like he might come away with another all-around title here today.
The senior Ryan Irick will begin rotation number 4. Nebraska on still rings with a 13-7-5-0 on pommel horse. The senior leader named the Nebraska Scholar Athlete Honor Roll every semester at this college career. What pressure is there on Nebraska after we saw Penn State with that big number?
Well, their vault number went up against Penn State's ring number, and they held their own. Now they're coming to an event where they're not really as strong. So Penn State has a chance on vault with some decent vaults to stay on their feet. They're going to chip away at that lead. The question is by how much. However, I'll tell you what, Nebraska might not have some big start lines and some big scores in this event, but I would bet on them to hit 5 for 5. There's almost no doubt the way they're rolling. The dismount. Haven't seen that yet. That's a full twisting double layout. Pikes it down there a little at the end. Still should probably get the layout for that, but with some deductions for that pike.
Remember this feat, 5 up, 5 count, so there's a lot of pressure on all these athletes. Jeremy Munn, the junior now from York, Maine. The first to go for Penn State. He's coming off a 3rd place finish on fault at the Iowa Tri-Meet 2 weeks ago.
Should be the same vault that Nebraska started their vault rotation with, the double twist. Penn State needs to start sticking some landing if they want to win this meet. Oh, real short. Big step forward. That's a 3/10 step. Plus the low landing is going to be a little bit of a double whammy there. Carefully comes off the vault table. Gets nice pop. Doesn't quite have enough rotation off of that board.
Jepson looking on. Things were a lot better a year ago at the Big Ten Championships. He had a healthy squad. Obviously hoping to build towards Ohio State in the championships just a couple weeks away. Brennan Summers now a sophomore. He's a still ring specialist. This is the only event that he's competed in for Nebraska. That's going to be 14 the Arnold Classic. Look at the advantage is it for him that it's the only event that he competes in for Nebraska. Does it have to maybe specialize practice-wise in practice?
Well, it can. You know, in practice, if you're just a one-event specialist, you theoretically be spending a lot more time on that event, and you're going to be a lot better on that event. Although, even with some of these guys, not that was nice Maltese position. Some of these guys, even if they only compete one event, they're training other events. So it's hard to say. It's also hard to go to a meet, in my opinion, and just do that one event. You sit there and wait for your opportunity to go. You got to get yourself warmed up and heat up quick. So far for Brennan, this routine looks pretty darn good. Another backup prize mark. He's late in his routine. That's so hard to do. Gotta dig deep here. And has a very simple dismount, over a deep dismount. And it's funny, we've seen that with the ring specialists before. They're great on the rings, but that dismount is always so tough. And look at this. My goodness, that is such a hard skill. And because this dismount is a lower value, it's only a B move, the easiest move being an A, he is going to start lower, but that's why he does it. He plays it safe and he nails the landing. That still will be a very good score.
Ryan Tyndall out of Saskatchewan, Canada, for the Canadian national team, is a 3-time Providential all-around champion. He's just shy of 15 in his first appearance on ball a week ago. Oh,
yeah, another big deduction on the landing right there. That was the double twist. Almost looked like his knees buckled and his knees actually touched the floor and he stepped out of bounds. So it'll be interesting to see what the judges do with this. Watch real carefully here. Knees, maybe not. That left knee looked like he got a little bit close. Definitely went outside the line. Definitely had a 3/10 step.
Redshirt freshman Joshua Everett is a third. The freshman from Tucson, Arizona. Still Rings is the only event that he has competed in as a Cornhusker, but he also trains on more exercise and ball. Sometimes as a freshman, sophomore is just waiting for your moment to get a chance to compete in more than one event.
And look at those arms, man. It looks like with that elbow brace, he's back from the left side of the plate. This is a big boy right here. Beautiful. He's to what's called a Nakayama or bouncing drop.
(14.150) for Irish Summers with a 14.250. That's really been the story for Nebraska. They've been consistent. They've had a bunch of good routines. They sprinkled in some 15s every once in a while in every one of the rotations.
And really, that's all they need to do right now. Penn State is not capitalizing on the fact that Nebraska is putting up these low 14s. Ball definitely an area where they should be putting up mid-high 14s, picking up a half a point per routine, and they're just not quite doing it now. Another hit for Nebraska. It's nicely done. 1.5 twist, spots the ground after one twist, finishes with the half. It almost sticks it.
Sorry for Penn State, they scored a 14-2 and a 14-0. This is the sophomore Joshua Smith from Baton Rouge.
And this is a big vault. This is the biggest vault we're going to see so far in today's competition. This is a handspring double front. So by the time he leaves his feet on the board, he's going to flip his body over 3 times. They need something huge right here. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. Penn State, could that be a little bit of the gasoline that Penn State needs to put on the fire? This is incredibly difficult. So much going on. Popped it off the ball table.
Like Blue was on his feet.
Unbelievable, like a toothpick and a club sandwich, as I like to say, Bernie. Look at that. That's big time gymnastics. Little form break coming onto the vault table, which again, in real time, that's happening awfully fast. That, I cannot tell you how big that vault was for Penn State. That will pick up probably just 1.5 points. That'll probably chip into that lead about 1.5 points alone on that one jump. Unbelievable.
Alex Maxey with his second event. He did play. Maxey was an NCAA qualifier in skill rings, an All-American star athlete. Joshua Smith is going to score 15-4.
And that was big because actually Penn State had given up more to Nebraska after the first 3 teams in this rotation. So finally, Josh Smith turned the tide a little bit. With 2 vaulters left, Penn State needs to keep doing what Josh Smith just did and nail those ladies.
Maxey majors in biological systems engineering. Big Ten star athlete.
Josh Smith just put up a 15-4. To put that in perspective, Alex starts at a 15-5. So that's how big that ball was. Coach Beck said coming into this event, he wants his team to try to hit over 85% every time they take the floor. And I'll tell you what, from that perspective, they're below that on the water if they can keep rolling the way they are. They have just hit routine after routine with very few mistakes. Nice routine. Not sure if he was trying to get the stretch double layout with a full twist there. I think he was, but that was clearly in the pike position, which will lower it a value and also lower his start value for that routine, his difficulty portion. Here it is right here. This should be a straight body, but very definitely a clear pike. The 2 judges decide to take it.
2 remain for Penn State, and they're both seniors. This is Alexis Torres. See if I can build on the momentum from Joshua Smith's career best 15-4.
And he's going to have the same start value. It's not as big of a vault. It's the 2.5 twist, but it starts at the same score. Crooked. Oh, just a double twist. I don't know if mid-air he thought he couldn't make the 2.5 and kind of backed off of it. But that's going to lower his start value 4/10, and he went out of bounds. Maybe he felt, definitely went crooked right off that board and the vault table. You can see he made that easy. You can see why he normally does a 2.5. Not sure what happened there.
Austin Everson last to go for Nebraska. He scored the highest score for the Cornhuskers on still rings at high bar this season.
That was another opportunity lost for Penn State with that vault from Torres. They needed to be able to knock another point off of that lead that Nebraska had. That vault had that potential. Unfortunately, it didn't come through.
Maxson with a score of 14. It'll be interesting because Anton Stevenson will still go after Everson, but count only toward his all-around total, not toward the team total for Nebraska.
It's funny, I was talking to Jim Hartson from Nebraska before, and he talked about Anton just competing on rings, just for all-around scores. That, he's been doing that, but he's kind of been beating the guys that have been in the lineup. So, they're still jockeying this ring lineup a little bit. This is one of those that are a bit in flux. They're trying to find out that perfect formula still.
That's what it's all about. The final 3 weeks of the Big Ten Championship. You just really want to fine-tune things. If you're Nebraska, you got to like where you're at.
You really do, and one of the things you like to do is you like to build confidence. And I tell you what, this Nebraska team looks like when they raise their hand, they know they're going to hit their routine. It's just a matter of how clean they can hit that routine. And when you get to the end of the year, when big things are on the line, that's exactly how you want to feel as a gymnast. Unique dismount right here. We haven't seen this one yet. Pike double front, tough landing. Looks good though.
Last to go for Penn State, Trevor Howard, who tied for third in the vault last year at the Big Ten Championships. Right now he's found out as the 15th best vaulter in the country.
And he's slated to do the 2.5, the same vault we thought we were going to see from Alexis Torres moments ago. We really need this big ball, but if there's ever a guy that put on the Nittany Lion uniform that can come through for you, it's this guy, Trevor Howard. There you go, Howard. It's like he heard us talking about it. I'll tell you what, man. You look up Trevor Howard in the dictionary, right next to his name is clutch. Boom. This looks unbelievable, and he made it look so easy right down the lane. One little tenth coming out of the ball table in slow motion. Not even sure if you can see that in real time, but I mean, just keeping his team alive again. Amazing.
A huge routine for Trevor Howard, and Anton Stevenson, who leads the all-around, is going to go on rings. This will not count towards Nebraska's team total. Everson is going to score 14-3-5-0. Again, Nebraska, they go 5 for 5 on rings. They take a couple of higher totals than what we've seen from Nebraska to win the Big Ten Championship in Columbus. But if you're consistent, you're going to give yourself a chance.
You will absolutely give yourself a chance. And the Big Ten Championship team might have some bigger start values. I'm not sure if Nebraska can hang with it, but when it's 5 up, 5 count, all you do is you do exactly what the 4X are going to do when you get up to hit the team. They can stick a few more landings, which would make a huge difference to their team's score. It puts some pressure on the big dogs, and you wait for your chance to sneak up the rankings. Anton looks good there. Again, not a huge start value, just a 15.3 for him on that event, but he keeps rolling.
They're traveling in rotation number 5 to parallel bars and high bars. A man, what a showcase it was for the Nittany Lions. Spectacular performance on the home. Defending Big Ten champion Penn State Nittany Lions. John Roethlisberger is with Randy Jepson, our State Farm Student Success head coach, the 3-time National Coach of the Year for the Nittany Lions.
Thanks, Bernie, and with Randy Jepson, and you had a rough go of it on Pommel Horse, but you got to be happy with the fight of this team.
That's what it's about, being scrappy and finding a way to make it happen. We're 5 up 5 count. Anything can happen. You got to stay in the meat to the end, and anything can happen. So put yourself in a good spot for the end.
Well, good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Take a look at the vault results for Penn State. Trevor Howard, Joshua Smith, huge routines, a career best performance for the senior Trevor Howard, a 15.450, and John, it couldn't have come at a better time for the Nittany Lions.
Absolutely not. And that fight from Penn State, you got to see it. It really was almost on the precipice of that one ball. You know, between Josh Smith and Trevor Howard just putting together those two balls, it saved the meet potentially for the Nittany Lions, and it's going to make it fun for all of us down the stretch.
For Nebraska, they were consistent in rotation number 4 on vault, but no big scores. Everson with their highest score of 14.350, and so with the big mark scored by Penn State, they have cut into the deficit that once was almost 5 points and now is only 2, as Nebraska leads with 290.8 points.
And 2 points, I mean, it gives you a little bit of a cushion, but really in the big scheme of things, it's nothing. You know, a fall is 1 point, 1 point deductions plus the value of those skills. So theoretically, one bad routine and that leads to all.
And it seems to me that rotation 5 and rotation 6, these are some of the trickiest rotations. Parallel bars and high bars. Sometimes you get status quo on the rings and the vault, but it's not that way on the parallel bars and the high bar.
Bernie, you've been around gymnastics long enough to figure that out already. I love it. You're absolutely right. Parallel bars and high bar are much easier to make mistakes. But Josh Smith, some big gymnastics here in this routine. Tough skill, traveling the length of the parallel bars.
About the career best performance at Arizona State, scoring a 14.5. The scores have continued to build all season long for the sophomore. Just give it that discount.
And that was a big routine. He did have some errors, some deductions. That landing on the end was going to be a pretty significant deduction. But I'll tell you what, Randy Jepson is happy with that routine. He wants this kid to get up there and hit his set. Put up a decent number and hope that the guys that are coming up after him can put up some bigger ones. But this is a good start.
First for Nebraska on high bar. Jordan King, the freshman from Houston, Texas. He will have for his 4th consecutive meet. But last week, it was the first routine that he did. For a 14.7.
They have some big hopes for this kid, along with Anton Stevenson, to kind of carry this Nebraska team as they head to the years following this one. But even this one, they are going to have their score. Jordan started early in the year with a sprained ankle. Actually got hurt in class. He was hurt a little bit, so it slowed his progress this season. I got in particular on this. So far. Not a ton of difficulty, only a 15-2 start value. This is the game plan though for Nebraska. Get up on the high bar. Don't do too much difficulty. Exactly right. Get a clean routine. Stick the lane and get that extra bonus 10. And let the other teams make mistakes. That was nicely done. Game plan achieved. Great look at the hands. Like the pommel horse, you can be right on, but you put that hand on the bar just a little bit off and you're going to be in trouble. There's the dismount. Good fight now. To get that bonus 10th, now I can't tell right there, but if you go up on the balls of your feet and your heels come off the ground, my understanding is that you won't get that bonus 10th, even if your feet technically don't take a step or don't move. So interesting to see what they do there, but nonetheless, solid start from the freshman.
Second up for Penn State, France Card, the junior. He's on parallel bars and high bars for the Nittany Lions. 4-time state champion back in the against him this was on, but he also competed at the World University Games in South Korea for Team Finland. He's got some great international experience.
Absolutely, and that does help a lot. Just being on a big stage like that, and that's a nice peach half to handstand, very difficult skill, making it easy.
Michael Smith with a 14-1.
To the middle. And there you go. When they know they're back in the front, you can just see that aggression coming out in Penn State. They want this win. Here's the Tapel, the end of the bars. become a very common skill. It was invented back in the 80s by a German gymnast named Sven Tappen. There's the pike. 2 for 2 for Penn State.
In the spot for Nebraska, it's either Ethan Lottman or Austin Everson. Today it's going to be Lottman.
Ethan is a Nissen Emery Award finalist. That's the award that goes to the most outstanding student athlete, senior student athlete gymnast in the country. Finalist for that event, for that award rather.
It's the first time for Nebraska that they've had a nomination since 2010.
Again, Nebraska off to a good start here so far.
Teams were 14-6. This call for the blowover. Stop for 1.5 years later, and also on the call.
All those pirouetting skills and turning skills are supposed to finish right near the handstand. So you don't think you look clean. The gymnast is not finishing halfway near the handstand, and that's going to be a deduction. But overall, that was a pretty clean routine. Has a 15-4 start value for that set. So again, Nebraska's game plan, not starting with the 16s, but hoping to get up there. Lower start values, but hit them clean. Great look at the hands. You can see those grips, they have dowels in them. Those dowels have to go over the bar if you're going to hold on. There's his dismount. Another angle. So many G-forces going on right there. Coming down from about 15 feet in the air.
And Nebraska 2 for 2 on high bar. Penn State 2 for 2 on the parallel bars. And some upper class talent for Penn State. Dominic DeFalvio, Torres, and Clark. So tons of talent for the Nittany Lions who've been so often in their careers in these type of critical clutch scenarios.
So just to kind of to give you my quick math here, after the first gymnast went, Penn State gave back about 0.5 point to Nebraska. But after that second gymnast, I think they're going to get a lot of that back. I don't think even Lockwood's score is going to be really into the mid-14, so they could be right back about at that 2-point lead partway through this rotation.
What's the goal there? Obviously, I'd love to make up 2 points in one field trip, but what is more realistic, if you will?
If I'm Penn State, I'd like to cut that lead down. You go into that last event, you're on high bar, Nebraska's on 2 bars, a 1-point lead, that's honestly that's almost like a tie. You know the lead is theirs for the taking if you can hit some great gymnastics. So they just need to keep doing what they're doing. But you know what? Nebraska's going to keep doing what they're doing. This lead's going to come right down to the wire.
1 point separated these 2 teams at Iowa 2 weeks ago in a tri-meet.
Pretty clean set so far. Nicely done. See the pads on his arms. Anytime you see the gymnast get up on parallel bars, they got pads on their arms, you know they're going to do something difficult. And something very violent. That probably hurts a lot.
Well, you're right about the score for Ethan Lottman. A low 14-050.
So they almost get back all what they gained in that first gymnast.
Daniel Neal, the sophomore from Tele Columbia, who majors in marketing and minoring in economics. Columbia National.
See all that tape on his shoulder. Get out on vaulted rings and really using there as well. Big release coming up right here. Oh, and the first big break we have seen from Nebraska. That is called a Coleman, and it's ironic because the first couple gymnasts up, they played it safe. They just tried to hit clean. Now the first big chance they take, The bar just slips through your fingers, and that is just a bit too far. Watch right here. Gets one hand over the bar. Trust me, you do not want to try to catch that with one hand. And that is unfortunate. So now he's got to get back up. And this is what is so tough about this situation. This score is absolutely going to count. But you got to get back up on the high bar and do another release move. You got to catch it. No problem. And that's another strike that he managed to get through it. With an extra circle around the bar right there. A lot of times when we see a gymnast do that, bad things happen. But he manages to get through it. Freshman Ronnie's going hustling now, big time. Every tenth is going to count. They need to stick this landing. They do, and he does, and he finishes strong. That's exactly what he needed to do. But I tell you what, down the stretch, Nebraska blinks first. This meet just got a whole lot closer. Beautiful dismount, though. Just darts it into the mat. Assistant coach John Robinson right there, giving him some support, but knows that things are precarious for this squad.
And how about this situation for Penn State? The door opens up. We have Alexis Torres, who's 8th in the country on this event, and then Leroy Clark, who's 7th in the country on parallel bars. Sun is starting to shine here at Happy Valley.
It really is, and Nebraska cannot afford any more mistakes. You said it. There's some big guns coming up here at the other Penn State parallel bar rotation. And we talked about cutting that lead in half. They might erase that entire lead here in a matter of 2 vaults and a handful of parallel bar routines. Beautiful. Called a bobsar. It's like the Tapel, but you continue to travel across the rest of the bars with a glide. Very nicely done. And he is not done. If he can get this dismount to his feet, and he can stick it. The team in front of us, the roof is going to come off this play, and that's going to be a big number. That's Alexis Torres in his excited face, Bernie. Believe it or not. And that's the bobsar right there. Man, that's tough. Just flies above the bar. Only thing really he was missing was a stuck landing at the end. His team in front of him loved it, though. They can feel it. They can feel the tide turning. Pressure's on this guy for sure.
Antonio Castro, the sophomore, set a new career best against Oklahoma earlier this year on high bar, and they could use that type of performance right here.
Next up for Nebraska.
Still waiting for the score for Daniel Leo.
Oh, he needs to do what we call in the business stop the bleeding. Unique out there. That was a Jaeger.
Got a score of 13.850.
Oh, that is devastating. Fulvio, the one opposite in the rotation for him on Penn State's team, got a 14-inch 1 point swing just with the third man up.
And it's a season best for Fulvio. So far solid for Castro on high bar. Cornhuskers needed.
Double twisting, double toss. Good fight on the landing. He easily could have put his hand down right there. Holy cow. But honestly, between that dismount, and we take another look at his release where that's a ganger flyaway with a half twist. There's the double twisting, double tuck. Lot going on. Almost touches his knee, almost touches his hand. Continues to fight, but honestly, between Torres' parallel bar routine and that dismount, we might virtually have a tie meet right now, Bernie. This is getting really interesting.
And last to go for Penn State, Leroy Clark, who's 7th best in the country on this apparatus. What is it, 14-8. The score coming in.
Nice front one in the corner. That's why those pads are on his arm. This is going to be another big number. Dare I say, unless Nebraska can do something miraculous with their last gymnast up, Penn State is going to have the lead, and there's a front one in the corner again. And Bernie, I don't know if I misheard you, or maybe the score is posted incorrectly, but I see Leal's score as a 12.85. You might have said that.
Updated it to 12.850.
And so that's a 2-point swing just in that one gymnast.
This was from March 11th, 2016.
And Anton Stevenson, he's been good at so many events. This is the event that he really struggled with 2 weeks ago in the Iowa Tri-Meet. He can ill afford to struggle here. Castro scored 13.70, so they gave back 1 point right there between Castro and Torres on the fourth man up.
Yeah, it's not a matter of whether Nebraska's going to have a lead after this routine. It's a matter of whether they'll be close enough to catch Penn State going into their parallel bar rotation. Again, this routine is clean, but it's not a big start value. Only a 15-3.
Castro with this team, it's a huge number 15.
Oh, gosh. Not bad for the freshman, but again, he's going to give up some points to the New bar routine.
One final rotation remains at Happy Valley. Penn State trying to hold off Nebraska in the 6th and final rotation. Men's Gymnastics on BTN is brought to you in part by State Farm. It pays to double check. Talk to your agent today. Things have gotten interesting here in Happy Valley. How about Penn State and their performance? It's the 4th time this year on parallel bars they scored over 72 points, and they do so in a big way. Leroy Clark with a 15.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a nice exclamation point to a decent rotation.
For Nebraska, they had their troubles on high bar, including Daniel Leal at 12.850. Originally it was a 13.850 at that point. It was a huge point.
Yeah, that hurts. And that was their big risk-taking moment, and it did not pay off for Nebraska, unfortunately, this time. But if you're going to try it, this is where to try it. You don't wait till the Big Ten Championships to throw that up there, and hopefully they'll be better next time for it.
And so Penn State, who trailed by almost 5 points, is now in the lead as we begin the 6th and final rotation. And they're the lead by a huge margin, a 4-point-plus swing in rotation number 5.
Welcome to the world of gymnastics. And they just went on what basketball players would call a run. And but here's the thing. Now Penn State goes to the high bar. We saw this happen in the first rotation where one team started up on the horse and then they swapped it out and things went haywire. So anytime you go to high bar, there's a lot of risk being taken and you got to catch the bar. So let's see what happens.
Nebraska needs a big performance now in parallel bars. Jordan King, the freshman, will start things off. It's just his 3rd time competing collegiately on parallel bars. He's competed well once in his collegiate career at the Winter Cup.
Oh, that's not good. That looked like it hurt. But the corner, he slid through the bar. That's very dangerous. Watch real carefully right here. Looks like it misses his left hand and then he slips through the bar. And you've got to be oh so careful because you got your collarbone and your sternum and you can stretch something out real fast. You can see it here wincing. This might be And how he feels when he gets back up there, this could be devastating for the Cornhuskers. Seems to be all right.
Think about what a turn of events it's been for Nebraska in this final two rotations. I'm certainly not counting the Cornhuskers out. And that's not the way you wanted to start out rotation 6.
Yeah, that's the guy who's grabbing his hand. I'm sure his collarbone doesn't feel very well either. He did get back up and he finished very, very clean, but in a situation where Nebraska needs to hit all of their routines to try to make up ground and come out of the game with a big miss, and that's going to hurt.
Here's the junior card who scored a career best 14-2 last week at Arizona State and finished 3rd.
Randy describes Browns as a very clean gymnast, and right now, that is all Penn State wants. It's just some clean hit gymnastics. And they are going to pull out a big pump from behind the rim. They can stay on this ball.
Huge offense boost with an early line so they can pull this off. There's one. Part of the great start.
From Finland to Happy Valley, they delivered here when they needed most.
King has scored 13-7, and this is Daniel Leo.
And that's actually not bad, 13-7, honestly, for that routine with a major fall like that. But it only lets you wonder what it could have been.
He'll try to make up for that 12-8.
And Leo does have a nice start value. He's got a 15-7 start value. But I'll tell you what, they've got 4 teams left, and they've got them perfect. And that was beautiful. So far. Coach Muffin there, looking on with a critical eye. That was a virtually perfect routine. Golly, did they need that one big time. Other than that little hop, the 110 hop, it was pretty nice.
Tied on the freshman from Saskatchewan. Finished 4th at Ohio State 3 weeks ago and scored a career high. Penn State made up 3/10. One athlete into the 6th rotation.
A little more international flavor here, where I remember the Canadian national team. Quite a few different countries represented here today. Pretty cool.
We talked about the outset. We're going to see a great Big Ten showing this summer in Reno. One would have to assume.
Absolutely. Not just internationally, but a lot of the American team, they come out of collegiate programs. So it's fun to watch that. He's fighting. He's been a little crooked a couple times, had a couple short handstands, but he knows his job. Stay on the bar, get a routine, and try to stick your dismount. That's 2 for 2. Wasn't great. Not going to be a huge score, but it's enough right now. There's the dismount. A little piked in the air. Does take that step. Has a 15-5 start value for that, so it'll be in the 14s most likely, but that's all that Penn State needs right now to try to close this thing out.
The 3rd routine for Austin Everson and for Daniel Leo. How do you make up for that 12-8-5-0
absolutely needed that. That will make up some ground for them, but they've got a long way to go yet. Tell you what though, if you're Chuck Schmelka and your team, you are telling you fight to the very last landing. Penn State again, they are a high bar. And as we've seen, things can go bad quickly on that event. No deduction there too. Do not want to give up deductions on swing the handstands. We'll step on the landing. So good fight. But again, not that exclamation point that Nebraska needs to try to close the gap.
Freshman Michael Burns from Baltimore. He's won this event twice, including last week at Arizona State.
Mike comes out of Hockey Valley Gymnastics. Again, there's some outstanding gymnastic clubs represented on both of these collegiate teams here today. Hockey Valley coach Mike Serra has done an outstanding job. And Trevor Howard came out of that gym as well.
That was impressive.
Nice one-on-one that covers everything. Good top. Little flat on that. We talked about the handstand position, but all those turning skills like that, you have to be a little bit short. Get on his feet, double twisting, double oh! He does not just get on his feet, he nails it. And that might be the nail that Penn State needed. I know they got some more gymnastics to go, but this stuff happens, and this is big.
The Nittany Lions, they love it. Another spectacular performance for the freshman. Now here's Anton Stevenson, who leads in the all-around by 2 points. This is his favorite event. He's won this event one time. He won the P-Bars at the PNG Championship as well.
And this is what collegiate gymnastics in the Big Ten is all about. You got a freshman up on the bar with the meat on the line, and you got the Penn State crowd yelling, "We are Penn State." Gotta love it.
As we mentioned, Torres in the all-around.
Torres coming on a little bit, trying to close that out. Nice job again. He gave away a few tenths here and there, and again, it's the frustrating part I think for Nebraska is they're giving away tenths on stuff that swing the handstands, little things like that. Double pike, just a little hop.
And it looks like almost for certain that Stevenson is going to be the all-around champion for the second consecutive week and the third time this season. This Torres has come up with just a gigantic number here. Trailed by over 2 points. Michael Burns with a 14-9.
And that's devastating because his counterpart third up for Nebraska put up a 13-9. So again, Penn State extending that lead. So it's going to take some serious problems for the Nittany Lions to not close this one out. But you know what? That's why they play the game. 2 more routines to go. You got to hit them.
Torres, that's the final 2 for the Nittany Lions at home.
And I think you're absolutely right. For him to catch Anton Stevenson, the freshman from Nebraska, the all-around would be impossible here at this point with a 2-point deficit. But I think for him, being a veteran of this team, being a senior, he doesn't care about the all-around. He wants his team to come out of here defending his home turf. And that means he's got to hit this set.
Stevenson scored 14-3-5-0.
Castro with a half turn out. There's the full top right. Beautiful.
Excuse me.
Another release move. Easy money. Another one. Certainly not watering down his set. He's keeping it all in there. With the lead on the line. It's a dismount now. I'll tell you what. The senior delivers, and they are feeling it. There's another Tkachev half. And yeah, it's spring break here in State College, and the crowd's not big, but the team is making up for it by making their own noise. What a comeback.
Well, how about the Nittany Lions? They're going to overcome a disastrous pommel horse, rotation number 2. Sam Chamberlain will be last to go for Nebraska, and the Cornhuskers are going to leave Happy Valley wondering what if. Because seemingly it looked like they had Penn State right where they wanted them with 2 rotations remaining. And the Nittany Lions have other thoughts.
They did not give up, and that was a beautiful sequence right at the beginning of each for 1 bar. It's so tough. It's beautifully done. Beautiful sequence right there to right number back. Sam, one of the best in the country. Number 19 right now for the nation. Even though the 2 competitions.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was about to say, you want to finish on a good note, and that might have been the best parallel bar routine we've seen the entire evening. But watch, his left hand goes inside the bar as he tries to grab right here. Right there. Oh. And Anton Stevenson in the background cringes. And that is a helpless feeling. Again, gymnastics is about big skills and dynamic skills, but when it comes down to the end of the day, little things like just grabbing the bar and what side your fingers go on the rail, that can be the whole difference, and that's what makes it so difficult and sometimes so frustrating. And there's the same skill again. I have trouble again. And that's frustrating for Nebraska. I'll tell you what, this is a different Nebraska team, and I know they didn't finish the way they wanted to, but they are going to do some damage. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but they're going to continue to move up the rankings in the Big Ten and nationally. And I will tell you what, mark my words, in the next few years, they're going to be fighting for a Big Ten team championship.
Leroy Clark is last to go. Torres comes through with a season best, 15.050. I know Leroy Clark could just put a cherry on top. While he's winning home on senior day.
As long as he doesn't jump down halfway through his routine, Penn State's going to come out of here with a miraculous win. Beautiful layout to Castro. And another release move right here. After the half turn, halfway through this meet, they were down by almost 5 points. And that is a big deficit to overcome, but and an unfortunate mistake right there. Well, we don't like to see the end of the meet happen with some mistakes, but you're going to have to fall a lot more time before they relinquish the lead. Just a little too far. That was another one of those half-turn recatches. And you got to be a little bit closer to the bar when you're trying to do that half-turn than you normally would be if you caught it with both hands side by side in normal position. But I'm sure Penn State wanted to finish with an exclamation point on this set, but nonetheless, I think Leroy just gets up, doesn't dismount, and they can get out of here with a win.
So they basically need 11 points on this routine. Overtake Nebraska.
They are going to get it. Big full twist and double layout.
And another stunt landing.
It's starting to get stickier late.
Anton Stevenson is going to win the all-around title for Nebraska. But the win today goes to Penn State. We'll wrap things up when we come back to Happy Valley. They who upset Nebraska, but to take a look at our Toyota Logistics note, excuses impact gymnast That's why Stevenson, he just keeps getting better. It wasn't a Nebraska school record like it was a week ago, but still a second best overall goal of the season.
And this is my first chance to see him up close and live in person, and say what, I'm impressed. The kid is just cool. He's unflappable. He's aggressive. And he doesn't look like a physically imposing kid, but man, he gets on that equipment, and he is not going to be denied.
I cannot wait to watch Anton Stevenson at home. A spectacular performance tonight for Nebraska. They have to be thinking, what if?
And they are definitely going to be kicking themselves for this one, because this was a meet that they had in hand, as we talked about, almost a half-point lead halfway through this event. And unfortunately, at the end here, parallel bars and high bar cost them.
High bar, parallel bar, the keys for Penn State. Their seniors came through in a huge way.
They did. Their big routines hit when their big routines had to, and that's part of the game. You want depth, but man, you want that big home run at the right time, and they got it.
Penn State trying to build to defend their title, and they get a season best performance, 433.6. A spectacular performance for the Penn State Nittany Lions. That'll do it from Red Hall. Penn State wins it. Coming up
For more full college gymnastics meets, hit the big red button and subscribe. Peace out, YouTube. If you like this video, give me a like. Okay, I'm going to click on end broadcast now.